invaluable resource to us in the HR department for about 4 years. And so we are lucky to have him here today. He leads our 2 leadership cohorts, developing a leadership culture, which I see some graduates in here, and also personal leadership and development. And he is an astounding leadership coach. He has written 2 books that he has up here, Leading with Insight and Champion. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Corey.
Awesome. I'll take that from you there, Meg. Yes. Oh, that's all good. Well, good morning, y'all. Well, it is so good to see you guys in person. I see a lot of familiar faces. I know as you're coming in, some of you that I got to talk to, I was like, man, it's good to see you outside of like a little 1-inch square right there, you know? And so, like Meg was saying, my name is Corey Lee. I do leadership training and development. I've been doing that since 2017, and I had to look up. It was in 2022 when Lori actually emailed me and we started working together, and I was like, wow, it has been 4 years already. And so it's just been an honor to get the opportunity to meet you guys and to serve you. And my whole goal is to add value. And even in here, I hope you get at least one thing that you can take and apply to grow yourself. Those that have been in the classes, you know I say that you guys are leaders, and you're leaders not just in the workplace, you're leaders in your homes, you're leaders in your community. And my desire is to give you at least something that you can take and apply in those areas. And so, again, I do leadership training and development. I've got an opportunity to work with leaders. I was going to say all over the country, but now I can say world, all right? I went to Brazil and I did some stuff, and I'm supposed to be going to Lebanon. I don't know if that's going to work out. We'll see how that goes. But supposed to be going to Lebanon and get the opportunity to work with leaders in a wide variety of industries, from construction to transportation to churches to beer companies and everything in between, and absolutely love that. But my background is actually in the medical field. I'm a physical therapist assistant, and in a 5-year period of time, my wife and I, we built 2 physical therapy clinics, 4 gyms, had 3 kids, sold all the businesses, kept all the kids, and then I transitioned into doing what I do today. And today we're going to be talking about the mindset of a champion. And when we talk about mindset, y'all, is identity. Did you know you'll never outperform your own self-image? Like the way you see yourself, you will never outperform that. And so we're going to talk about that. But first, I like a lot of interaction. I like a lot of engagement, okay? So here's what we're going to do. I've got a coin, and this is winner take all, okay? And so what we're going to do, I want everybody to stand up. There we go. All right, so check it out. I'm going to flip this coin. If you think it's going to land on heads, I want you to put your hands on your head. If you think it's going to land on tails, I want you to put your hands on your tail. I know we talk about a family, but we ain't that kind of family, okay? So heads or tails, all right? Go ahead and choose. I'm going to set the mic down. Heads or tails, here we go. It is tails. Heads, have a seat. Heads, have a seat. Okay, wow. Wow. The mindset, there you go. All right, heads or tails, what do you guys think? Go for it. Choose heads or tails. Okay, here we go. Heads, oh man. Tails, have a seat. Oh wow, that's weeding them out pretty quick. All right, here we go. Heads or tails? You choose heads or tails. Here we go. Did everybody choose that? No, we got a few tails. Yeah, all right, here we go. Heads, tails, have a seat. Ah. All right, heads or tails? Heads or tails? We're going to go to, we got one winner. Anybody? Okay, all right, we got 1 or 2 that went to heads. Tails, heads, have a seat. My bad, I didn't mean to convince you to change. I didn't mean to convince you, all right? All right, we got 5 left. Here we go, heads or tails? All right, here we go. Heads, tails, have a seat. Here we go. Whoa. Oh, this is going to be rigged if Sammy wins. This is going to be rigged. No. All right, here we go. Heads or tails? Heads or tails? All right, she went tails. You will go heads? Here we go. Tails. Wow, what? It was rigged. No. I got you, Sammy, right here. So I'm going to give Sammy a copy of my book, Champion. So I'm going to give her a copy of my book, Champion. In this book, y'all, I was getting the opportunity to speak with a lot of high school athletes, a lot of college athletes, and one of the things I really wanted to encourage them is to be champions not just on the field, but off the field as well. And a lot of the things in here we'll talk about today, but I've got a couple of copies up here if any of you guys are interested in that. They're like $15. But Sammy, congratulations. Let's go. Let's go. And then before we get going, the only other book I have, I've written 4 books. I've got another one in editing right now, but this one's called Leading with Insight, 31 Days of Wisdom for Leaders. And in this one, I kind of wrote it like devotional style, and it's faith-based for those that are into that. If not, it's all good. But I take a proverb per day, and then we look at that through the lens of leadership. And so I've actually got a volume 2 coming out, and I've only got 2 of those. So there we go. All right, you guys ready to rock and roll? All right, let's go. Y'all, today we were talking about the mindset of a champion, but I got 2 quotes. I was thinking about these as I was coming in. I want to just give you these quotes. Check these quotes out. Me and SJ were a little bit talking about this a little bit. He had made a mention of this a second ago. The children today, the children now, they love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority. They show disrespect to their elders, and they love talking instead of exercise. You know who said that? Or it's attributed to saying that? Socrates. Socrates. You know, it seems like every generation is always talking about the upcoming generation in a negative view. And I just thought, you know, it's interesting that if we would just change our perspective and see value in the different generations. I came across a book. I've shared this with some of you. It's called The New Kind of Diversity. And they talk about in this book, there are 5 generations in the workplace right now. That's the new kind of diversity. And I think those that are going to stand out the most are those that know how to communicate and to connect with all the generations, the older generations, the younger generations, and all the above. Here's the second one. In times of change, any of y'all think we're in times of change? In times of change, the learners inherit the earth, while the learned are beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. How about that? In times of change, the learners inherit the earth, while the learned are beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. The learners, those who have committed to growth. Y'all, we ain't going back to the horse and buggy, okay? We're not going back to the rotary phone. Things are changing, and I know we're celebrating 80 years at Robbins Morton. Things have changed since that time, and so as a leader, I cannot lead you tomorrow based on today's leadership understanding. I've got to continue to keep getting better. I've got to continue to grow, and so I hope today will add value to you as you grow as a leader. And so we're talking about the mindset of a champion. I mentioned mindset is really around identity. You will never outperform your own self-image. And I want to give an example of this. This happened about 3 weeks ago, okay? Our family, we're into soccer. And our daughter, she's 12 years old. And so, 12-year-old girls, they're playing in a soccer tournament. Well, before the season began, her coach came to her and said, hey, I want you to take on more of a leadership role on the field. I want you to be the captain on the field. Well, about 3 weeks ago, we were playing in this tournament. And there was a penalty in the box, and there was a penalty kick. And for those that are not familiar with soccer, basically that is a 1v1, all right? It is your kicker versus their goalie, 1v1. And so we saw this, and they set the ball down, and all the girls on our team, the coach didn't say anything. He didn't say who to kick it or anything like that. And we watched these 12-year-old girls like, you do it. I ain't doing it. No, you doing it. I ain't doing it. You do it. They were all backing away as far as they could from the ball, and they were all pointing like, you do it. No, I ain't doing that. You do that. And finally, this girl, young girl, she comes up and kicks it. But my wife and I, we looked at each other and we said, that was a test. That was a test. And she failed the test. And so afterwards, I asked her about it. I said, hey, Kendall, why didn't you kick the penalty kick? And she said, that's just so much pressure. That's so much pressure. I was afraid I was going to miss it. Think about what she said. I was afraid I was going to miss it. And so I just, I didn't say anything, but I just thought about that. And how easy it is for all of us to think like that to a degree. And so the next morning, I got up and this idea came to me. And she was sitting on the couch, and I came and sat down by her. And I said, hey, Kendall, I got something I want to give you. I want to give you something, okay? And I said, in soccer, most people miss the penalty kick because they're focused on missing the penalty kick. They're focused on missing it because where our focus goes, all of our energy flows. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. So if I'm focused on what if I miss, then all of my energy, everything within me is going to be focused and flow towards missing it. I said, what I'm going to give to you is a knob. It's just a knob. I want to hand it to you. I want you to put it in your soccer bag and put it right beside your shin guards, okay? And I said, this knob, all you got to do is turn it. You just turn it. And it turns from what if I miss to when I make it. When I make it, here's how I'm going to celebrate. When I make it, here's how it's going to impact my team. I said, because when you change your mindset of where your focus goes, your energy flows, if I focus on making it, when I make it, then all of my energy is going to flow to it. And I gave her this example I'm going to give to you guys, all right? I'm going to give you 30 seconds. And I want you to look around the room. And I want you to count everything you see that's the color red. Okay, as many red things as you can find. Every item that you can find. All right, I'm giving you 30 seconds. How many red things can you find? 30 seconds. Look around. Look up, down, and all around. Look at your neighbor. Yeah, what if you're... Make it up. Make it up. Okay, all right. Now I want you to close your eyes. Think about all the red things you saw. And I want you to tell me how many things you saw that were the color green. All right, it's a joke, right? So it's hard to picture and capture all the things that were green because you were so focused on the things that were red. And that's what I was telling her, that when my focus is on missing it, that's where all my energy is going to go to. And so I gave her this knob, and then the next game, we were playing a championship game, and we're playing one of those teams that, have you ever experienced this? You're playing a team you've played before, like as a rivalry, and you know you're better than them. Like you know you're better than them. You just hadn't proved it yet. Well, it's like one of those, and y'all, there was a penalty in the box again. There's a penalty kick. By the way, that's kind of rare. It's not like a common thing. Well, they put the ball down, y'all. She steps right up there. It goes, and she nails it, right? She nails it. Here's one of the reasons I'm sharing that with you guys and with us here. Did you know that anytime you step out, y'all, there's a moment it takes somebody to step out and be a leader. Like there are moments where somebody has to step up and step out and be a leader. Anytime you do that, yes, all eyes are on you. Like that penalty kick right there. But where my focus goes, my energy flows. And I told her, I said, at the end of the day, all the greatest soccer players on the planet, Messi, Ronaldo, all of them, they've made penalty kicks. They've also missed penalty kicks. At the end of the day, you're still a great soccer player. If you make it, you're a great soccer player. If you miss it, you're still a great soccer player. And so, when we're talking about this right here, my point is, true champions do not play down to the level of talent around them. True champions do not play down to the level of talent around them. I've been on sports teams that were pretty mediocre. And you know what happened? When we played good teams, we played good. When we played bad teams, you know what we did? We played bad. But I was on the championship team, and y'all, we were good. We went in expecting to win. We went in and we won like 50 and 60 to nothing as a football team. But there was an expectation that we were going to win. And I remember, I'm sorry for all the sports analogies, okay? But I hope this helps you guys out and adds value to you. It was late in the season. We were the number 1 ranked team in the state. We had scored more points, given up the fewest amount of points, and scored the most points. And we were playing this team. We were already going in in the playoffs as the number 1 team. And we're playing a team that wasn't very good. So it's kind of almost a meaningless game. And so it got time to halftime, and we were barely winning. We were winning by like 7 points. And y'all, our coach, he went off. He went off. Like, this guy's an even kill guy, but he went off. That's the maddest I've ever seen him. But he said a phrase that really has stayed with me, and I want to give it to you. And he said, you've got to have a killer instinct. You've got to have the killer instinct. And the way I take that, I want to leave it with you guys, is, y'all, that coach, he knew he had 14 and 18-year-olds. that were going to be men someday, they were going to be in the workplace someday, they were going to be fathers or parents or community leaders, and they could do what the majority of people do, and that's conform to the world around them, to settle. It's easy to settle. Did you know good is the enemy of great? Good is the enemy of great. And he knew that he had some young men who were going to be leaders one day, and they could choose to settle for the ways of the people around them, that everybody else likes to complain, whine, and moan. But he wanted us to have a higher expectation for ourselves, to never to settle. I'm going to give you this analogy, and we use it in our leadership training, but I think it goes here because I think it's really powerful. Actually, I was doing this leadership training one time, and for those that have been in the course, you know, we do like the images. How do you see leadership in this picture or whatever? Well, this guy, he picked out some coffee beans. And I was like, coffee beans? I'm having a hard time with the coffee beans. You know, I don't know if I can see leadership in coffee beans. And he began to tell me this analogy. He said, think about this. Let's say you've got a pot of boiling hot water on the stove. And beside that pot of boiling hot water, you've got a carrot, you've got an egg, and you've got a coffee bean. And he said, let's say you take that carrot and you put that carrot into the boiling hot water. What happens to the carrot? Yeah, it gets soft, right? He said, now think about that egg. It's soft on the inside, but if you put it into the boiling hot water, what happens to the egg? It gets hard, yeah, right? So that carrot and that egg, it goes into the environment, and the environment influences it. But he says, think about that coffee bean. If you take that coffee bean and you put it into the boiling hot water, what happens to the water? Turns to some good coffee, right? It turns black. Coffee beans influence the environment, and that's what I'm trying to say here is we can choose to be influenced by the environment around us, or did you know that you can choose to influence the environment around you? You can be like that coffee bean. So you just go around, I'm a coffee bean. I'm a coffee bean, right? I am changing the environment around me. Like what if that while everybody else is complaining, whining, and moaning, we let the complainers complain, the whiners whine, and the moaners moan, and we be the ones who look for solutions? Did you know that in every challenge there's always an opportunity? Within every problem there's always an opportunity. And by the way, if there were no challenges, y'all, there would be no need for a leader. Anybody can lead when things are going good, when things are going well. Here's the next point I like to make is I want you to think about this word right here. When you hear the word success, what comes to mind for you? Say that again. It sucks less. Wow, I like that. Yeah, he says success is it sucks less. Yeah, when you're successful, it sucks less. There you go. I like that. Yeah. What else comes to mind when you think about the word success? Dedication. Yeah, that's a good word. Yes, sir.
The result of a bunch of failures, but not giving up.
Man, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to talk about failure here in a minute. That's good. I like that. Yeah. Anybody else? Winning, yeah. Being the best. Let's go. By the way, you talk about winning and being the best. Check out, I love this picture of Usain Bolt right here. You know he's racing against the fastest people on the planet, and it's not, you next level. You know you're next level when you're running and you can look back and smile. You know, like that is something else right there. Yeah, that's impressive right there. I like that. When we opened up our first business, y'all, I didn't know anything about leadership, didn't know anything about personal growth, didn't know anything about business, really. And I realized that I had to grow. And in our leadership training, one of the things we talk about is called the law of the lid. And the law of the lid basically says if I lead anything, if I lead a family unit, if I lead an entire organization or a small team, I am the lid on that team. My team will never surpass my ability to lead. I am the lid. So if I'm on a scale of 0 to 10, if I'm a 5, then my team will always be a 4, 3, 2, or 1. But if I begin to grow, if I begin to develop myself and invest in me, I can raise my lid, but that also increases the potential of my team. Well, When I realized this when we hired our first team member, that y'all, the decisions I made didn't just affect me and my family. Now they affected somebody else's family that I had to grow. And well, I came across this guy. He's one of my favorite leadership motivational speaker guys. His name is Jim Rohn. Old school motivational Jim Rohn. Anybody ever heard of Jim Rohn? Not the sports guy, Jim Rohn? Okay, let's go. All right, I would highly encourage you to look up Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn's got a very unique philosophy, okay? He would say things like, don't wish things were easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skill. But one of the things he said about success, he said there's actually a formula to success. He said there's a formula to success and failure. He says success, the formula to it, is just a few simple disciplines practiced daily. How about that? Just a few simple disciplines practiced daily. He said the formula to failure is just a few tiny errors in judgment repeated every day. How about that? Success and failure is just a few. Success and failure isn't typically one giant leap or one giant step. It's actually a process. It's either a slow fade or slow climb. You know, we talk about everything worthwhile is uphill, but most people have uphill dreams and downhill habits. I was talking to a friend of mine. This has been several years ago. It was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. He said, basically he had a moral failure, right? And he said something interesting to me. He said, Corey, you know, right here is where I fail at, but back here is where I began to fall. Back here, I started doing some things, and I stopped doing some things, and nobody saw it, and I kept on, and eventually came to light. Y'all, that's true for success as well, right? Like, however you define success, whatever your definition of success is, maybe you want to be the next CEO, right? Or next president or division manager, I don't know. Whatever you want to define as success, it's going to come through a process. It's going to come through your daily habits. What I do day in and day out, day in and day out. I call it the most boring key to success is consistency. Consistency. But you can also be consistent in doing the wrong thing as well. And so we can talk about that some other day. But here's what I want to encourage you, and really the point I want to leave here with you is however you define success, y'all, it's going to come through a process. But here's the challenging part about the process is, they don't hand out trophies for the process. They don't hand out blue ribbons for the process. Typically, people aren't patting you on the back. It's what you do behind the scenes. That's why I like the Joe Frazier quote up here. He says, champions aren't made in the ring. They are merely recognized there. How about that? It's what you do in the dark. You know, when you begin to do the insignificant as if it were significant, you have proven you're ready for the significant. Like when you do the things necessary when nobody's watching, when you do those habits, you have proven yourself you're ready. So I want to ask you guys just a couple of questions, all right? When you think about where it is that you want to go, whatever you define as success, however you want to define that, what are some things you need to start doing to get there? How do you start to begin to act now in such a way that will help you get there? How do you begin to think like that individual now? One of the things I share in our leadership class, here's our next speaker, y'all, by the way. Here's our guest speaker. I'm messing with you. When you think about that individual that's already got that, that's already in that position, how do you begin thinking like that? And one of the things I say in our leadership class is begin thinking like a leader. And so if you want to be a leader, then look at who's already in that spot. When opportunities or challenges come up, pretend like you're in that role or you're in that spot. What would you do? How would you handle that tough decision? How would you handle that opportunity? And then just watch. Just kind of watch to see what the leader does. And if they did what you thought, then hey, you know you're headed in the right direction. If they did something different, man, that's a great opportunity to go and have a conversation. It's like, help me understand why you did that. Help me to see how you see. And so what are some things maybe you need to start doing, but hey, you know what? Here's an even better question. What you need to stop doing. You know, sometimes I need to stop doing things, and that's just as important as, actually sometimes more important than what I need to start doing. So what are some things I need to stop doing? What are some of the habits that are holding me back? Here's a couple other thoughts, and then I do want to get into some Q&A. And I want to make sure we save time for that. All right, yeah, I think we're good, right? I think we're good. All right, I found this interesting. I came across this book, and I don't even remember the name of the book, but the guy who wrote it, he was this sports journalist. And he said that anytime that he got to interview the best of the best, like the top 1%, you're talking about like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, you know, like the best of the best. He said he always asked them this one question, and he said without fail, they all said the same thing kind of in their own words. He said he would always ask the best of the best, what separates the best athletes in the world from those that are good? Like you think about, we're talking about the NBA playoffs. If you're in the NBA, you already in the top 1% of the athletes that play basketball. But even of that, those best of the best, like what separates the best of the best from everybody else? And he said, without fail, they all said the same thing. They hate to lose more than they love to win. That's an interesting thought, isn't it? They hate to lose more than they love to win. Kobe Bryant, the way he described it, he says, like when you love to win more than you hate to lose, it's like when you lose, it's all good, you know. We'll get them next time. We'll get them next time. But he says, if you hate to lose more than you love to win, when you lose, it eats at you. It drives you to get better. So here's my question, and it goes into our point of failure. How do you handle failure? How do you handle failure? Are you afraid of failure? Like, let's get honest, nobody wants to fail, right? and by the way, I've got some things in my life, maybe you guys, any of y'all have things in your life when you look at maybe some of the decisions you made or some of the things you did and you think about it, it just makes you cringe. Any of y'all got some of those? Yeah, I do too, right? And you think about, oof, golly. But you know what? There are some lessons that failure has taught me that success never would have. Failure is not your enemy. Failure is not your enemy. And that's one of the reasons we say that experience is not the greatest teacher. Evaluated experience is. When I begin to evaluate those experiences, it allows the lessons to catch up with me. So how do you handle failure? Here's a question for you. How do you handle those moments when you've done everything you know to do to prepare, when you've given your very best, you've given your best creativity, you've given your best work, you've given your best effort, and in that moment, your best isn't good enough? How do you handle that? I've been in those places right there, and it's embarrassing, right? Like, man, you feel lost. You're just like, what do I do? And kind of tying it back into the Kobe Bryant quote, I want to encourage us in those moments, basically you've hit your current level of ability. It's not one of those things of like, oh, I whine and complain. It's like, okay, now I'm aware. I'm aware of where my current ability lies. How do I get better? How do I improve? How do I get better? And so I know this year is like a World Cup year or whatever. A couple years ago, we were watching this show on the World Cup, and they were following the captains of all these soccer teams. And they were following this Croatia captain, and they were like in the hotel room, kind of like this, or a hotel lobby like this. And this Croatia captain, he was tearing into the goalie. Like, he was ripping into him. Like, he was just dogging this guy, you know? And I was like, dang. And finally, the goalie, he said, man, come on, dude. Give me a break. Give me a break. I haven't given up any goals. Like, nobody has scored on us. Give me a break. And he said, that's just it. That's just it. For us to get to that next level, you got to take more risk. You are playing too afraid to fail. We need you to take more risk. For us as a team to get to the next level, we need you to be willing to take more risk. By the way, there's some areas in our company we don't want to take too many risks. Like if you're the one signing paychecks, don't take too many risks. I'm just saying, all right? But don't fear failure, right? Failure is not your enemy. Failure is not fatal, and it's only failure if you stay down. Get up. Keep going. What can I learn from that? Here's my last two, and this is actually one of my favorites, champions have ice in their veins, all right? They have ice in their veins. You know why they got ice in their veins? They aren't rattled by pressure because they know who they are and they understand that they can choose their own attitude. Did you know you can choose your own attitude? Like, I can't control what people say about me. I can't control what people do to me. But one thing I can control is my attitude. My attitude and my response, I have 100% control over. Zig Ziglar, he said, your attitude will determine your altitude. How about that? Your attitude will determine your altitude. How high up you go in life and career is largely dependent on your attitude. Any of y'all know somebody with a really good attitude? Okay, y'all know somebody with a bad attitude? Oh, yeah. Who would y'all rather hang out with? Yeah, the good attitude, right? This was around Christmas time this past year, and so we were at a family member's house, and the adults are inside, the kids are outside, and our daughter, she comes in, and she said, Daddy, Brady's out there raging. He's out there raging. And I go outside, and there's nobody around, right? There's nobody around, like, for miles. I can't see anybody except for our youngest son, Brady, and he's out there like, he's fighting the air, kicking the grass. He's just mad. He's just mad, right? And I take him to the side, and I say, hey, Brady, come here, talk to me, right? And so I'm talking to him, and he's like, just. And I said, what's going on, man? And he said, just Kendall made me so mad. Oh, she made me so mad. We laughing because we've been there, right? We laughing because we've been there. And I said, Brady, if somebody else can make you mad, if somebody else can make you sad, or if somebody else can make you glad, then you've been had. If somebody else can make you sad, mad, or glad, you've been had, because what you've done is you've given somebody else complete power, control over you. You've empowered somebody else to determine your day. And you are far too valuable to be giving somebody else that kind of power and control over you. Think about this, right? Like, if my day is good because somebody else made me glad, then I've empowered them to determine my day. But if my day is bad because somebody else made me mad, I've empowered somebody else over my emotions. And you are far too valuable to be giving somebody else that kind of control over you. Look, sadness, madness, and gladness, they're all emotions, right? And there are times and seasons and all those kind of things. But understand that you and I, we can choose our attitude. We can choose how I respond in a given moment. By the way, how many of y'all know that ain't easy? Another book I read is called Man's Search for Meaning. This is an older book. It's written by Viktor Frankl, all right? Viktor Frankl was a Jewish psychiatrist, and he spent time at Auschwitz, right? And he was telling his story in this book about how when they came to get him, to take him to Auschwitz, they took him away from all of his family, took him away from all of his possessions, everything that he owned. They loaded him on that cattle car, and whenever they took him off the cattle car, they took away the rest of his possessions, his watch, his wallet, everything that he owned. And then right there in front of everybody, they stripped him butt naked, took away his dignity and his pride, and then they gave him some new clothes. And on these clothes, there was like this number written across the chest. And that number was now his identity. He could not be called Victor any longer. He had to be called XYZ157, whatever it is, right? That was his identity. But he made this very powerful statement. He said, every freedom can be taken away from a person except for one. Everything can be taken away from an individual. They can take away your possessions. They can take away your pride. They can take away your people. But there's only one thing that cannot be taken away. It has to be given away. And that's your ability to choose your own attitude. He said between stimulus and response lies this space. And he says it's in that space where our power and our freedom lie. So think about this. He said between stimulus, all right, somebody punches me in the mouth. And sometimes my reaction or my response is, in the blink of an eye. But he said within that space is a window of time. And in that window of time, you can actually choose how you are going to respond in that moment. How about that? Between stimulus and response lies our power and our freedom. Did you know people will not go along with you if they cannot get along with you? Leadership is influence. I came across this show on TV. It was like 2 weeks ago. We don't watch a lot of TV, but me and our youngest son, we were at home, and we came across this show called Undercover Billionaire. Anybody ever seen that? Some of you have? Who has? Anybody seen that? Okay. Super interesting here, right? And so basically the premise of the show is they take 3 billionaires and they drop them off in the cities they've never been to before. They take away their cell phone and they give them a new phone with no contacts in it. They give them $100, an old beat down truck, and they give them 90 days to build $1 million business. That's what they do. 90 days to build $1 million business with no contacts, only $100, and an old beat down truck. I found it really interesting that all 3 of these said and did the same exact thing. Started. Like the business they built was very different, but what they did starting off was exactly the same. Number one they did was after they found shelter, they said, I've got to connect with people. I've got to find people that I can connect with. Even before they figured out the business that they were going to do, they said, I've got to connect with people. Whatever it is, however you define success, whatever that looks like, you can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. You got to have people. And what I want us to understand is, y'all, if people cannot get along with you, they will not go along with you. But if they can get along with you, they will go along with you. Leadership is influence, our ability to influence and impact people. Here's my last point. True champions, they champion other people. True champions champion other people. True champions believe the best in other people. Belief brings out the best in other people. Every great person I've ever had the opportunity to meet, every great person I've read about, they all say the same thing. Their story's the same, and I guarantee your story is kind of the same as well. They say, he believed in me before I believed in me. She believed in me before I believed in me. They had somebody who believed in them before they even believed in themselves. How about that? I know I had somebody like that, and I bet you did too. Somebody who believed in you before you even believed in yourself. True champions, they champion other people. Here's kind of a little bit of a point I want to make. Y'all, it's easy to believe in someone when they're already doing amazing things. It's easy to trust in people when they've already proven themselves trustworthy. How many of you know it's a whole other thing to believe in someone before they've earned the right, before they've ever even done anything? That's a whole other story. But I believe that's how you truly bring out the best in people, is to extend belief. You had somebody who believed in you before you believed in yourself. And two of the best examples that I can think of, these are my examples. You know what? If you don't like my examples, it's all good. It's all good. You know, I'm sure as I share my examples, you'll come up with your own examples. But two of the examples that I think of that best explain this actually come from the Bible. The first one is David. David was the king of Israel, but before he became king and led an entire nation, did you know he was running for his life? Like he was running for his life, and he would go hide out in all these caves. And it said that everybody who is discontent, everybody who is in debt, everybody who society would consider scoundrels came to David. That's kind of the way they were described in the beginning. It was a little bit like scoundrels. You know how they were described in the end? Mighty men of valor, giant killers. David turned scoundrels into mighty men of valor. The second one I think about is Jesus. See, Jesus could have went to the prestigious, the powerful, the religious. He could have went to the ones who already knew everything, but he went to the ordinary. He went to the outcast. He went to the, the ones nobody liked. Tax man. Hope everybody's got their taxes done. I think tax day was the other day, right? But he went to the ordinary, and you turn them into world changers. Here's my point. Is the same environment that created world changers like Peter, James, and John also had a Judas. It had a betrayer. The same environment that turned scoundrels in the mighty men of valor, it had an Absalom. It had a betrayer. To champion other people, it's high risk, high reward. The reward is, man, I know some of you guys have seen this, the moment that you've been investing into the life of someone else and it kind of goes off, you see it click in their eyes, like, man, that is good stuff, right? Like once you get a taste of significance, when you get a taste of investing in someone else's life, success will never satisfy. Success is how well I've done for me. Significance is how well I've done for myself and others. And once you get a taste of significance, living for yourself, it just don't taste right no more. But it's high risk. You know why it's high risk? Because you got to get close. And when you get close, you open yourself up. When you open yourself up, you open yourself up to be abused, used, and accused. And if you've been in leadership long enough, I bet it's happened to you. I bet it's happened to you. Here's the reality, y'all. If I do not get close to people, they cannot hurt me. But if I don't get close to people, they can't help me either, and I can't help them. High risk, high reward. And so I want to ask you guys 2 more questions. And if you've been in any of the leadership classes, you've heard these 2 questions because I like these questions. All right? I think these are great questions. Here's my first question to you. What do you want to be known for? What do you want to be known for? Towards the end of last year, I officiated my first wedding. 3 days later, I officiated my first funeral. Y'all, I was not prepared for a funeral, right? Like, you guys have smiles on your faces. Did you know at a funeral people don't smile? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was not prepared for that, right? But, all right, so I'm up there, and I'm looking out at all these people, and I've got the obituary on the little podium thing here, and there are 2 dates, and in between those 2 dates, there's this dash and a space. And as I looked out over all these people, I realized that every single person there, they were there to celebrate that space because that space represented the impact that this lady had on every single one of their lives. And so what I'm asking you guys in the room is, hey, what you want that space to say about you? You know, you and I were writing that every single day. You can do it by intentionality or you can do it by accident. People may not remember what you said. They may not remember what you did, but y'all, I'm telling you, they will 100% remember how you made them feel. When I was interacting with all the people talking about this lady, that's what all of them are talking about. If you boiled it down, that's basically what it was, is the impact and how she made them feel. Here's my second question, all right? And this is a little bit different question, but what are you known for? What are you known for? That's a little bit different question, all right? How your buddies describe you? How your girlfriends describe you? When your name comes up in conversation, what's the conversation about? How do people describe you? So our physical therapy clinic was in the Wapping metropolitan of Manatee, Mississippi. If you want to get fancy, you can put your pinky finger out and say Manatee. All right, Manatee. Manatee was a town of 1,100 people. That's right, 1,100 people, all right? And in Manatee, there was a Dollar General, and actually they've got 2 Dollar Generals now. One's one of the special grocery store kind, all right? And then we had this Mexican restaurant. My wife and I, we're going to lunch, and we go into the Mexican restaurant, and as I walk in, there's this guy in the back corner, and he pops up, and he says, "It's the gym guy. It's the gym guy." I said, "That's right. I see you, brother. The gym guy. It's got a nice ring to it." We eat, and I'm just cheesing, right? I'm just smiling. I got a smile on my heart, smile on my face. And we get back out to the car, and you know how it is when you can just feel somebody staring at you, right? You can just feel them, right? Well, I could just feel my wife staring at me. I was like, "What is it? What is it?" She said, "The gym guy? Is that really what you want your life to be known for?" I said, "Well, you know, when you say it like that, you know, but when you say it like that, guy, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool." Y'all, what I'm asking you is, what do you want to be known for, and what are you known for? And if they're different, what needs to change? What needs to change? Hey, here's the one thing I would love to do. We're going to do a little bit of we may have in just a few minutes for a Q&A. But before we do that, I would love for you just to look at your neighbor. And I want you to share with them one thing that stood out to you today. Hey, it could be in today, in what we just did. It could be from the session before. But what's one thing that has stood out to you since you've been here, all right? Share with them the one thing that stood out to you, all right? 3, 2, 1, go. All right, good stuff, good stuff. Hey, would anybody like to share one thing that stood out to you since you've been here? It doesn't even have to be in this session, it's all good. I don't mind calling out folks too. Yeah, come on, let's go, Lori, I like it.
I like the quote, the Maya Angelou, like that people remember how you make them feel.
Yes, yeah. People remember how you made them feel, that's good. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I wrote down something you said, where focus goes, energy goes.
Yeah.
Good, bad. So,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think we all deal with that a lot. Excuses, stuff, constantly. Oh, I can do this, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. Getting an opportunity to know you guys, I know y'all deal with that a good bit. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm just sharing my new bestest good friend. I like the point between the stimulus and the reaction, and also the space there. But I learned a long time ago not to be a reaction. Don't operate with a reaction.
Yeah.
Be the action.
Yeah. Oh, what was that last part you said?
Be the action.
Be the action. Don't.
React.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I don't know if everybody heard it. He said, "Don't react, but be the action." There you go. You better watch out. Man, you're gonna take that show on the road now. You're gonna come up here. No. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Seeing value in all people, like the biblical standpoint, not just a certain type of people, is value in it.
Yeah. Seeing value in all people. And that reminded me, the other day I was, that's such a good point and really important for us as leaders. I was speaking at, best way I can say this, retirees. How about that? I was speaking to retirees, all right? And at the end of it, one of the ladies, we were talking about communicating, connecting. One of the ladies, she asked a question, and she said, well, actually, she made a statement. She didn't ask a question. She said, these young folks today, right, they don't know how to communicate and to connect, right? They don't know how to do this. And the reason I bring that up with what you said, I think the leaders who are going to stand out the most are those who value all people. People who are older than you and younger than you. People who believe like you and don't believe like you. People who look like you and don't look like you. But also those who can connect with people not like you. And what she was saying was, she said, all they want to do is play video games. Well, y'all, we've got 3 kids and 100% outside play, right? 100%. And we were interim youth pastors at a church, so I've been around like young kids.
they are connecting. They're connecting very differently though. Like they will get on video games and they can talk to their friends. And they're having an entire conversation with their friends on video games. They'll do FaceTime and they'll do Zoom and those kind of things. I think what will separate real leaders is the ability to value people and connect with people both face to face, but in new mediums as well. And I think even the younger generation is the one that'll stand out the most with those who can connect with technology, but also face to face. And so 100% agree with you. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, she's like, I would love to hear a question. Anybody got any questions? Q&A. I answered them all. Oh, yes, ma'am.
I guess out of coaching, what is the one thing that you see consistent with people going to the next level? Is it one thing that you notice?
Yeah, so coaching people and get them to that next level. I think there are a couple, and I think one of the ones you just said, value people. When you value people, it comes out in the way you interact with people. Leadership is influence. You got to have that. But I think number 2 would be making a commitment to grow, investing in you, continuing to grow, and valuing people. Like we talk about being good at what you do. Like just do things with excellence. Most people do just enough to meet expectations, but we want to do things with excellence. But also who you are is important. And so I want to continue to grow and value people. And I think that's really, because even in hiring, you guys will talk about we can help people get the skill, we can teach the skill. It's true even as you continue to go up and up and up. Those are true. There are other higher level skills too, but those two will take you a long way. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a question.
Come on, brother.
So, your definition of success, right? You only truly fail if you give up on that goal, right? You fail, okay, you keep getting back up. The definition of insanity is also doing the same thing and not getting the result that you want. How do you draw the line, or what can you speak to the difference between your approach to success or failing, repeated failures, and knowing what to adjust?
Super good question. So basically, if I can repeat back to you what I heard you say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? So I said success is just continuing, don't giving up, right? But insanity at the same time is continuing to do the same thing over and over and over. And so number 1 is I want to evaluate, is there anything I need to change, right? Like, so is there something I need to change in me? Sometimes I can't see it. It's called a blind spot. And so I need people in my life who can speak into that. And so I would say number 1 is that. Number 2, I did this, so when we sold our gym, and that was hard. It was really hard. Didn't have to. I loved it. But I sat with that for a little bit, and I did a whole teaching on, is there a time to quit? Is there a time to quit? And it's not necessarily quitting if there's a new season. There's a difference between a next season and a new season. The next season is a continuation. Maybe there's growth. A new season is something totally different. And so I think part of that is truly understanding how do I define success. And sometimes my definition of success is not going to be exactly like everybody else. Maybe my idea of success is I'm more focused on my family, and my job is I'm going to do my best there, but my focus is somewhere else, right? And so if I understand where I truly value success, it helps me not fall into the comparison trap, if that makes sense. Does that make a little bit of sense? And so if I could wrap up that's a great question. I love that. Number 1 is evaluate. Is there something I need to change? Typically, because most people try to shrink their goal to match the plan they're on. And what I would say is change the plan. Don't change the goal. But then there are also seasons when there's time for a new season. And so that really comes through reflection as well. So is that helpful? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Love that. Yes, ma'am.
What is one small action, realistic step that you can take to move towards that growth or the big people? Something small that you can leave with today.
Yeah. I would say read. You got any books, podcasts, anything? But also don't just read to say I read. Really take something from it. And here's what I would do. If I'm at this conference, here's a recommendation to you. take notes, all right? But don't just take notes on what is being said, take notes on the ideas that come in. Because, you know, I don't know if everything's recorded. I'm recording, but, you know, you can go back and rewatch something. You can get notes from somebody else, but that idea, that you may never have that again. But here's how I like to do my notes. At the top of it, I'll put ACT. I'll put at the top of my notes, ACT, ACT, right? I'll take all my notes. Once the conference is done, I'll go back and everything that I need to apply or start doing, I put an A beside. Everything that I need to change or stop doing, I'll put a C beside. Anything that I can teach, I'll put a T beside. And so that's how you get the most out of something like this, whether it's at a conference or, you know, anything like that. Because, you know, you go to a conference and you go back and how was the conference? Oh, man, it was good. It was good. What was good about it? It was good. I don't know. It was good, right? And so that I would say best thing, take notes on your ideas, on your thoughts, and then use that format. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Hey, truly appreciate you guys. I hope you got at least the uno thingo, all right, that you can take and apply. Hey, I would love, I know you guys may have to get somewhere else. I would love to meet you. I do have some books up here if you would want one. Like I said, they're $15. I'd love to sign it, but either way, I'd love to meet you guys. And I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your day. Thank y'all.